Talk to me about the work that you do with kids in meditation.
So I've been teaching meditation to children for close to 15 years, I think. I've stopped counting, but I think it's about 15 years. Ever since I discovered Susan Kaiser Greenland's work, which I think is truly brilliant and unlike any of the other work that has been done with children, although there's a lot of great stuff out there now. She created a secular program for children in schools based on the Vipassana teachings, but truly turned it into a completely secular program. And I had just finished a meditation retreat where I kept thinking about how beneficial it would have been for me to learn to meditate as a child, and how I was kind of naturally inclined, as I think a lot of, I noticed this in my classes, so I think it's like any other ability or talent where most people can learn it, but some people are like truly gifted at it and can learn it much more easily. And I think actually in general, I think children can learn to meditate more easily than adults. But then there are the ones who really take to it pretty quickly and just fall into it right away, and then they can derive all of this benefit from it when they're young. So I came out of that retreat mostly wondering why we don't teach this to children. And thinking about it in the context of physical education, that, like we consider this to be mandatory, like we have to keep our bodies healthy. And this is such an incredibly powerful tool for keeping our minds healthy. Like why this, how different things would be.
Until everybody accumulates all sorts of baggage and trauma.
And can barely learn how to meditate.
And is completely closed off to the idea. The openness, the open-mindedness of children seems to be, perfectly suited for, because they're not like, they want to be in that place of awe and wonder and exploration.
Well, and they're in that place all the time. It's like my daughter asking if she's breathing the sky and like why her breath isn't blue, and it's all mysterious, and there's no idea that it should be one way versus another way, and so much of that is an obstacle to learning how to meditate when you don't know what a self is or what free will is or what you're just very open to the next experience.
How many of the kids that you teach end up adopting like a consistent practice?
Oh, I wish I knew. That's a great question.
How does that work?
It's all over the place, I'm sure. I've heard from many parents. I get these wonderful emails and sometimes photo. I actually got this text a couple of years ago from a mom who said we couldn't find, I'll use a different name, Rebecca. We couldn't find Rebecca. We were visiting my parents. We couldn't find Rebecca. We were looking all over the place. And then I found her and she showed me the picture, and she's sitting, meditating under a tree in the backyard.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's the most wonderful thing about it is that what I was hoping was true is true, that she clearly was deriving so much benefit from it. This is something she wanted to do on her own. She just decided to go do it in a moment that she felt like she wanted to or needed to or whatever.
How does it work with your own kids?
Much harder.
Tell me about it.
I keep thinking I need someone else to record all of my guided meditations for my kids.
I don't want to hear it from you. So all of my meditations and lessons are now on the Waking Up app, and I have a long page, and it's maybe slightly intimidating because there's so much text, but I put everything in there that I think is actually really important to know before you teach kids how to meditate. And I'm forgetting. And one of the points I make there is that it's really important to not force kids, to not really to not put pressure on them at all to do it or to learn it. And that I think the best thing that parents can do is model it for their children, which is true of so many things. And my kids, especially my older daughter, she's 10, is definitely interested. And I got very lucky, actually. They invited me to teach a meditation class at her elementary school. So I taught her class kindergarten first for 3 years through second grade. And, that's not advice I can give to, to other parents. So it just kind of stops there. But what's interesting is I think children really learn meditation better in the context of a group or a school or like a learning setting. And I think at home, you really just have to offer it and talk to them about it so they know it's something that's available, and show them how it helps you. And I actually think it's important to do it in front of them. I think they become interested without telling them they have to do it. Just actually sit down and set a timer. And the parents I know who meditate, who have kids who meditate, that is
That's
how it's happened.
Works. Yeah. I mean, it's like any good behavior that you want to instill in your kid. If you create restrictions and mandatory rules around it, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I mean, it can go both ways, but meditation is definitely that way because it's totally an internal experience. So you can't, you can tell them to say thank you to someone when they've given them something, but meditating, you can't control. It's like you can't force someone to go to sleep, right? Like that's just not something.
Is there an optimal or appropriate age to introduce this?
My favorite age to teach is 9 and 10. And I still generally think that's the best. If there's one time that you're going to introduce it to children, I think that's the time, partly because it stays with them. I think when they learn around 4th grade, those memories stays
with them.
Yeah. And they're also at this really beautiful stage of still being kids, but they're starting to think like adults. And you can have basically every conversation you would have with an adult about meditation with a child that age. And so I think the learning is just very deep. And I think they learn as well as younger children. But I am always proven wrong when I think a group of children are too young and I'm invited to try to teach them. Now the youngest I've taught is 4.5, and they absolutely learned. And it's different.
That's cool.
Each age is different.
Yeah.
And I would say not every child in that class was meditating for sure. Maybe 4 or 5 of them got it, and a couple had some really interesting experiences. So I think they can learn as young as 4. I think it depends on the context.
Yeah, I heard
it depends
you
on how they're learning.
Speak about that and just the epiphany that one young child had about what the present moment is.
Yeah.
Like that in and of itself, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, that's so often the epiphany, and it's so, I love it. It's so interesting to hear them talk about it. But yeah, this was a little boy. I think he's 5, or was 5 at the time. And yeah, he barely had the language to describe what he was talking about, but it was similar to what the girl in 2nd grade who I mentioned in my book. It's a similar realization, and he talked about it in terms of it going fast. He said, it just keeps going. I don't even remember exactly what he said, but it was something about it moving fast, which was one of the first realizations I had when I was able to concentrate for long enough to kind of stay moment to moment for a significant period of time. There's something kind of energizing about it because it's a good way to describe it. It's moving fast.
We should be teaching this in schools.
We should be teaching it in schools. And more and more schools are.
We need to institutionalize this.
I know that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think we might be headed there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was not optimistic about that just 5-10 years ago. And now I actually think we're headed there. So cool. I now have the opposite concern, which is it's happening too fast, and I don't want programs that aren't
vetted and legit.
Yes.
Yeah.